So it's all about data, and you have any examples of data, like whatever we use to store is called your data. It can be customer information in the sense customer name, customer phone number, all those things are considered as your data. So this course is intended to have a database. So database purpose is to store your data. Okay. So just going to a history, why you need a database? Before inventing a database, what was there? And what are the difficulties or disadvantages on storing the data before the database? What kind of system they used? Okay. In that system, what are the disadvantages they face? For this only they came up with the concept called database. Okay, we will see that history first. So as I said, you can see my screen. You can see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. See, like, see, you have a data, right? As I said, the customer data. So earlier, before the database invention and all, how they are stored? They started storing using a file system. Say, for example, I can store this file as a customer info. Okay, so customer info. So say, for example, I have a customer name and I have a phone number, something like that. So name can be Naga and my phone number can be 98674, something like this. And even I no need to store in the same way like this. I can store in the same way like this, like Naga and 98765. My address can be in say, for example, I'm in Kuwait. Maybe someone else, say, for example, Varun, his number is phone number is like this. So I can keep storing the data in this file system as well. So this is how the conventional storage of data has begun. Okay. So when you keep storing the data like this, data. So when you have your data stored in a file system, and what complexities arises? Like Windows have a restriction, like you cannot have a storage of a file more than 10 GB, 5 GB. I'm not saying about today's high technology. I'm speaking 20 years back. So they have a storage restriction of a file, individual file. So they have a restriction. We have a restriction of storage of a file. Okay. So that is why you have the file system has other disadvantages over a database. Okay. Now, just a minute. Sorry guys, I'm getting repeated calls. Okay, let's continue. So earlier they used to store the data in the file system. Okay, so you have a notepad or you can create a Excel spreadsheet over here. You can keep storing the data in Excel spreadsheet as also. So this is the file system you have, and it's used to store the data. It also serves the same purpose. As I said, database used to store your data, and you can even store the data in the file system. So what disadvantages that it had in typical file system that makes you to create your database environment? I mean, that makes you to create, meaning like that made you to evolve the database architecture. Okay, so challenges what we face is like size of your data. As I said, if it is for a small environment, if you are managing for your own purpose, then it's fine. If you assume as an organization, you will keep on adding the files, you will keep on adding multiple files, and you will, as you see, like you can't able to take the backups. You store it here and you put it in E drive, F drive. Someone asks you to verify where it is. You find very difficult. So first is size. Hello, someone is speaking. Okay, so ease of updating. So ease of updating means you can't able to easily update. Say for example, in the same file you have hundreds of customer. The customer information has changed. He has changed the phone number. You need to go and search. Assume you have multiple files like that. You have 80 to 90 files. You don't know in which file the customer data is stored. So updating becomes very difficult. Storing is easy. Initially you start. Okay. Accuracy, these are more or less related. Accuracy and updating, everything is same. And security. So when you have data stored in the file system, securing those files, say for example, as a manager, I need to access only the payroll. I can access the payroll, but the other employees should not access the payroll information. If I have all the information stored in my desktop like this is your data, and you have payroll information over here. Okay, so you have payroll information. So if this folder is access to everyone, say for example from the manager, from the TL, or your employees, everyone can go and see their payroll information, how much they are paid, what is the salary of my colleague, what is my manager's salary. Then that becomes unnecessary confusion. So there should be some restriction to people who has to see what. Okay, so security implementation is very complex here. Can't switch between the screens. Hold on. Can you able to see, guys? I will teach you in this manner because switching between the screens become very difficult. So security restriction is there, and that makes us life very difficult. And redundancy. Redundancy, as you see, like you have the same data. What you feel like you feel very comfortable in taking backups. You have one copy in D drive and use copy and paste in E drive. After some time, you will not update in E drive or D drive. You keep on adding multiple backup versions, and whichever version you need to use, you don't know after some time. So this redundancy of data, and you will not have accuracy. These are closely related. And incomplete data. So incompletion in the sense if there is like some constraints are not defined in your file system. Say for example, your employee or your customer should always have some phone number so that you can able to create. If in a file system you do not impose an restriction to it, without having a phone number you can start creating it. So those kind of incompleteness you will keep on adding. That becomes very complex when you have your data stored in your file data storage. So this is the main disadvantages that earlier systems faced or earlier organizations faced, so that it made us to evolve and move towards the storing your data in your databases. I think till this it's clear, guys.
Yes, Naga.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Fine. So coming to the modules now, with this note, let us see what are the things we have in this session. So basic database concepts. So basic database concepts, and we have introduction to SQL Server. So these are the things I'm going to cover. Why it keeps changing? So introduction to SQL, DDL, DML commands, working with queries, all these things will make you to have a full SQL developer, that is SQL Server developer, once you learn all these courses. Okay. So I think Rabani, Rahil wants more on the module 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10, those things. So they are familiar with the module till first 5 modules, I think. Let's see.
Nagendran, will this course will also cover the SQL fundamental about data querying?
Yes. That is what working with queries. You have a module 6 over here. Hold on.
Select, insert, update, and delete those and joins.
Yeah. So you see here working with queries, aggregate functions, joins. You can see my mouse pointer there. Joins.
Yes.
So implementation of data integrity. So basically it involves know about the database and using SQL. Okay, I mean using SQL, and we use SQL Server as a DBMS. I'm going to quickly start that session now. That DBMS, all those things. So this is your course content. Just go through it.
Okay, because my job primarily to retrieve the data on if anything need to be updated
Yes.
or something.
Exactly. So you will learn all those things because SQL means that is mandatory. You need to create table and updation. Querying is main part that comes with the DQL. Okay. Okay. We will see. So I have 12 modules here. I'm going to take each module 1 hour, and I will have another half an hour to I mean, it will not complete in 1 hour. Some classes will take more than 1.5 hours. So that's what I told, 14 hours session. Okay. Let's see how it goes. Okay. Give me a minute. Database management system. So now I told you about database. I mean data. We discussed about data. Any information is your data. Okay, so it can be a customer information, it can be your transaction, it can be your what to call payroll information, employees, and just you say mobile information, EMI number, I mean IMEI number, your mobile model, everything is your data. Okay, any information. Definition of data is nothing but any useful information is called your data. And database, that is used to store your data. That's all, simple things. Okay, and where this database management system comes into place. So if you read through the definition, I think I'm not sharing the screen, hold on. So database management system, if you go through the definition, it says like it's a system software for creating and managing your databases. So first I started with data, then I told what is a database that is used to store your database. Then I'm telling another term called DBMS. So this DBMS is nothing but that stays in between your database and your user. So it's a software that is used to collect the data and store it in a database. It acts as an interface. So basic logic behind database is nothing but database management system. Okay. So DBMS makes it possible for end users to create, read, update, and delete database in the database. So it's nothing but a software written. It's a program that makes you to create the database and modify the database. So in general term, you will say databases only, but indirectly all the works done by database management system. It's nothing but your software. So now I say, like, I am teaching this database course using Microsoft SQL Server. So it is one of the vendor, that is Microsoft is a vendor providing this software. So SQL Server is your database management system. You got the point? And Oracle is your another database management system. And IBM DB2 is your database management system. Underneath, what will have? You will have databases. So databases is common. Okay, that doesn't matter. So MS SQL Server, Oracle, all these things are database management system. I hope I'm clear in this point. So how this database is architected, in the sense, people will have data. Okay, so people has to insert a data in different ways. Like this, the user can use the client tools, or hold on. So user will either use the client tools, or they will use the APIs, like application programming. If you assume you are going for any online shopping, they will use to collect your information. It can be a card details or any online application. So this API is nothing but this top screen is nothing but your screen, front end screens. Okay, using that they will gather the data. Then using the DBMS software, they will store the information in the DBMS, I mean database. Okay, it can be a mobile application, and it can be a video, or any other things. So your data can be anything. Basically, it is not only a text. It can be an image. It can be a video. Those things also can be stored in the database. Okay. Okay.
So
What else?
Nagi, one question here.
Yes.
So this
Yeah, go ahead.
DBMS, you said like MS SQL Server and Oracle. Uh, so
Yeah.
who, like in the real time scenario, like who decides like what should be like MongoDB? We have different DBMS. So
Yes, yes. So who decides which RDBMS to go? Correct?
yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So it's a business call. Basically, if you have all your products built in Microsoft, they always go for Microsoft SQL Server. In some applications, they used to go for Oracle. So purely based on the business analyst, or I will say architects. So architects will decide based on the volume. Each RDBMS has its own advantages and disadvantages. They need parallel processing. They need multi-level tasking. Those kind of strings can be applicable only in MS SQL Server. Oracle will not support that. Then they will obviously go for this. So based on the business scenarios, situations, they will go for each and one. I would say RDBMS, I mean Microsoft SQL Server, because I know that one. I don't know about Oracle. This is a human mentality. If you know what, I mean, whatever you know, you will project it. That is how it works. Most of the companies, as simple as that.
Okay.
Okay.
In my organization also, they're using Toad Oracle.
Yeah. Toad, and MySQL is open source, so it's I mean it's a free open source software. So MySQL, they will not charge anything. So that is RDBMS. That is I mean that is nothing but your DBMS, database management system. So this thing you need to be clear in mind. Okay. So
So
Toad,
the
yeah.
base concept will be any differs the syntax or stay on the SQL when you retrieve the queries or something. When we work on with SQL, Microsoft SQL, and when you work on with
I, yeah.
Oracle,
So
will there be any
yeah.
difference?
No. So the concept behind this is database is common for everything, and if they use SQL, structured query language, okay, that is common for everywhere. Maybe the syntax may be different. If you know the programming languages like C, C++, any programming language, it has its own syntax. Declaring a variable, like you mentioned the data type integer a, or a comma integer, it differs between the programming language. Similar syntaxes will differ, but they follow the SQL, then the syntax would be same. slight differences will be there in some cases. I would say in Oracle and SQL Server, we have 80% same syntax for most of the cases. There are some cases where providing access, those things, the syntax will differ. Even if you learn this SQL, it will be applicable for Oracle and MySQL. Everywhere you can use the same query. Okay. Okay. So with that note, let's move forward. So now you understand what it is. Microsoft SQL Server is nothing but your DBMS. And what it will do, it will enable you to create databases. The databases will store data. Now the question arises, like when you have a files, okay, you are storing any type, whatever I typed earlier, okay. Yeah, I typed in the notepad, I can store it in Excel like this, or I can store it in notepad like this. Move this window away. So I can store anything like this. I can store like this, I can store like this. Come on, I need to fix this one. What I'm saying is, you see here, I can store here in this format, any other format. So in case of database, how the data should be stored? So you got my point? You can see my screen, or it's pausing this one. Okay. Why it's like that? Together. Hello? Yes, can you able to see?
Yes, we can see now.
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, 1 minute. I need to fix this guy. I mean, it's sharing, share everything, something like that. Screen. Hold on. Now I hope it's fine. I don't want to. Each time I'm switching, it's asking me. Okay, fine.
Share
Now,
should be fine.
yeah, share screen is fine now. Okay, now you see, like here you have a customer name, phone number. I can store like this. I can store like this. So that is any way I can store. If it is a file, I can store like this also. One customer I will store. I will say Hari, and I will say like phone number. Here I'm storing phone number here after his name in this next line. Here I can store like this. It's my wish. There is no restriction in the file system. But in the database perspective, how you need to store the data? So there is a thumb rule, like in DBMS, you need to store the data in tables. It's pretty much clear. Okay, so the tables are nothing but your spreadsheets. If you see here, yeah, so this is your spreadsheets are nothing but your tables. If everyone, I hope everyone worked on Excels. So table is nothing but you have rows, you have columns. Okay, this is how the data should be. So in order to store your customer detail, you need to define customer name. You need to define, I mean, you need to define this column customer name, phone number, and address. Okay, this is the thumb rule where your data should be stored. I mean, how the data should be stored. So your data is stored in a table. That is called your relational database management system. So I told about database management system. So there are different types of DBMS, object oriented, hierarchical. No need to put much into it. Now the full famous everything is like RDBMS, relational database management system, where your data are stored in a table. Pretty much clear. Okay. Now, what is data, field, record, database? This is the hierarchy we need to follow. Data, as I said, any information is your data. Field is nothing but your column. Each column is your field. Technically speaking, when a business perspective, any application user will say it as a field. Okay. In database world, it should be considered as column. Okay. So it's a column. Then record. So record is nothing but you have defined the headers. So I am having one record here, Nagi 98765. and address Kuwait. I'm just typing just a country name here in address. So each row, one row is called your record, or I mean it's called a row in a table, or it's a record. Okay, that is what you say it as a record. Then database. Okay, so I created this. I will name it as customer. So whether this is considered as a database? No, this entire thing is considered as a table. So this thing is considered as a table. Okay, now I create another table like payroll. Here I can maintain another information. So this is how the group of tables. So a database can contain multiple tables. This maybe I can say like entire Excel sheet. This single Excel sheet considered as a database. So this Excel sheet is a database and can contain multiple tables. Okay, got it. It is simple as that. Now with this all this informations, okay, let us quickly know what is SQL Server, all other stuffs like this. Okay? Come on. So you got now every idea about database, tables, DBMS. Okay, as I said, Microsoft SQL Server is your DBMS, RDBMS, Relation Database Management System. So I have provided the link to you guys in the email I have sent. You need to install the softwares so that it will install Microsoft SQL Server engine. So the architecture comes like this. Okay, I need to go back here. Say for example, now I am saying about this two part. Let me highlight these two part. Okay, database and DBMS. So whatever link I provided in the email, that will install your SQL Server only. Okay, this alone, the center part alone, it will install. The second software, maybe I will quickly show it to you guys. I need to go to mail. Okay, so this .NET framework is forget about this. There is no concept related to SQL Server. All this SQL Server built in .NET code. So that is why Microsoft asking you to install. Forget about this. This is not related to our topic. Then SQL Server. See, this link is nothing but your SQL Server as a DBMS. It is nothing but your server, the DBMS software. Okay, this is what you need to install. Download. Now as I said, if you have a 64-bit, you choose this one. If you have 32-bit system, you choose this one. So these two will install your DBMS. Then what about this management studio? It is nothing but your client tool to connect. See, server is a software. As I said, it's a software, just a software that will sit in your one desktop or server system. I mean, any server, dedicated server. Then you need a management studio to connect to that server, and you want to manipulate it, create a database, or you need to query it as you asked. You want to select or create tables, whatever operations you do, you need to have a client. This is management studio is nothing but your client. Okay, so in this picture you don't have that you assume this particular picture, maybe I'll say this one as your management studio. So first link will enable you to create the DBMS. Next link, management studio, you need to create and database or all other stuffs. Okay, so I will help you if you find a difficulty in creating, installing. Now, I already installed DBMS, Database Management Studio. That is nothing but your SQL server. I'm trying to connect with your management studio at a client. Once you install it,
So we need to choose 64 or 86 according to system requirement, right?
yes, based on your system, you need to choose either of those. Yeah, I have selected 4 options. You choose any 2, that's enough.
What are the two options, Nai?
Just see, I told you like here, x64, x86. You no need to install both. Download both. Check your system configuration in my computer, like here,
Yeah, I got
where
it.
I can find. Okay, whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit, you choose. If, in my case, it's 64. I'll choose this one and this one. That's enough. Then click next and go for it. 1 GB only. And Praveen told he is having 32-bit, so he installs 86. This one as well as this one. You need to choose these two, then go for it. Okay, just download and install it by default options. Next. Then you will get all the environments like this. Okay, now this is the client. As I told, see, this is my DBMS. I already installed. It will go and sit. You cannot see this one unless you have the client tool. Just you have to connect the. Now this part, this database won't exist. Only this one is existing. Okay, DBMS software. Now you are connecting to the client, then you are creating a database, then you create table inside it. Okay, all these things you need to do manually. Once you install the DBMS, it will not have database in place. You are doing only the DBMS at first place. Okay, now already installed. So this is my server name. As I said, this is the server. You go to other engines, you forget about all those things. Server name, I will give my server name, then click on it. So it is connected. So this SQL Server Management Studio is your client. It's connected to your DBMS, that is SQL Server laptop. This is the server name. And this will have all this architecture. Okay, we will go through it later. Now, in order to create database, I already have some databases. So in order to create databases, one of the main advantage of Microsoft product is that minimal coding. You don't need to write coding much. Instead, you can write. You can create using a GUI. So just right click on it, new database. I will say like SQL training. Spelling is wrong. SQL training Corona. Fine. So it's as simple as that. Just provide the name. These file groups I will explain later. Just click on OK. Then you can see like SQL training Corona here. Okay, these are database I already created. So once, see, this will contain the folder, databases. Inside this, what we'll have? Inside this only database, under the database only, you'll have tables, views, all those things. The disadvantages, whatever we faced in the file system, like security, and you have a consistency, the user should not have restricted access. Those things can be implemented using these options. Okay, we will, while going through the sessions, you'll learn that one. Now, so this is the database. You can create it like this, or you can choose this one. You can create a new query. New query. I'll say create database. I'll say test2, something like that. Okay. This is also way of creating it. It is as simple as that. So you see, you have a test2 here. Okay. I don't want it. Just I want to show you guys how it has been created or how it should be. Now we'll stick to this. So How to navigate? See, once you have your database in place, okay, here you choose that database, then press new query. Okay, so now you see this is highlighted here. I mean, let us have a spotlight. You see highlighted here, I mean SQL training the database. Then you can start writing it code. Now, as I said, you need to have the table to store the data. So as I said, like here you have customer data. So these are my customer data. So you cannot copy and paste and store it. You need to create a table first. That table only stores the information. Okay. So instead of writing the codes, I already prepared some kind of scripts over here. I'm in module 3. Okay. So first, as I said, it's a customer information. So this is the syntax for creating your table. So it starts with create statement, and what you are going to create table, customer ID, customer name, and address. So these are the things I want to store. So just imagine with the Excel example, these are nothing but your columns or fields. So you are just creating a metadata, that is headers, okay, so that these columns is going to hold those information. Okay, this is the column name. And what about this? These are very important part, nothing but your data types. So any programming language or anything which have a data type, meaning what is the type of your data? Say for example, this customer ID I set as integer, int. Integer is nothing but numerical values. It will hold the values from 1, 2, 3, 4 till some limits 3 million or some million. It will hold. And customer name should be varchar, that is character. It should not, if you put integer over here, it will throw error. In this place, if I want to insert Nagi, it will not allow. So it is saying that restriction to your data, what data it's going to hold. That is your data type of your data. You need to declare it. There are number of data types. Mostly we will use integer and varchar. We will go through it. I will share you the link. There you can study what are the different types of data types and when to use this, when to avoid this, what is the difference between varchar and varchar. We will go through it. Just for now, you focus on table. This is the column names and these are the data types. Okay. Now you see here, I don't have any tables now. It will by default, it will have system tables. Once I select this statement and do execute, it has said completed successfully. Then do a refresh here. You find a table here. Okay, this is the customer table. Now, as I said, how I can see a data inside the table? I cannot see like this. I can see the columns. What are the columns? All those things. Okay, but I cannot have any data. I mean, I don't have any data. It just creates the structure. Now you see, this is the data: customer ID, customer name, customer address. Okay, so there is no data, and how you want to store it? So
insert into.
Wow. I'll know the answers. Okay, fine. So basically, you created a schema or a structure, and you want to insert the data. This is the only way you can insert into a table. I mean, you need to explicitly specify insert into what is that object name. That is, object name is nothing but table. Then you need to mention the columns. So this is John and he's from London. Now when I select this statement, okay, now I go and see the data here. So one customer information is stored. So this is how your data are getting stored in the database. It's flat. I mean, it's flat in the sense it will be row by row. So this is called a row. This is called a field. This is called a field, and this is each cell is a data. Okay, this is how it is related. Now let me insert some more values so that I can find something useful. So now I have inserted 2 more records. So this will have Kumar, Abdullah, Bangalore, all those things. So now you got a clear understanding about how you can store the data.
Should we add semicolon at end of the query?
Come again?
Should we add semicolon at the end of the query?
Yeah, as I said, so it depends upon each DBMS, RDBMS. In Oracle, you need to do. In MySQL, you need to do.
What I studied when I studied, actually, I was forced to add a semicolon at the end of the query.
Yes, that's what I said. So syntax differs. Go ahead, Praveen.
But you did not add a semicolon at the end of the query.
Yeah, that's what. So as I said, this SQL is a standard. I mean, whatever I written here is SQL. Each and every RDBMS has its own syntax. So in SQL Server, there is no semicolon. In MySQL, even in Oracle, I'm not sure, there might be a semicolon. Okay, so there is no thumb rule. So you need to focus on one particular technology or querying or RDBMS. If you once you're familiar, then you can compare. While learning, I recommend you focus on this for now, then you go for a comparison. Okay, because you already did a study on that. That's fine. I'm saying here in SQL Server, no need. Okay. Okay, guys. So this is your about the table. Okay. Now let's focus on your syllabus. So you see like limitations of file management systems. I have covered basic concepts and advantages. Basic concepts is like a server client architecture. What is data, field, record database? Exploring relational database management system. Understanding client server. So mostly this thing. This is history, basic features, components, and tools. Yeah. So you need to starting and stopping. These are very small things. Introduction to Management Studio. Whatever I use, this is the one. Types of system database in SQL. Okay, fine. Someone have any question? Someone something? Okay.
Can I just say once again the relational database management?
Yeah. So you now you've somewhat you are familiar about DBMS. It's a software. Now, so relational database management system is nothing but every table is a relation. I mean, to rephrase my sentence, it's a software. Okay. Then what comes a relational database management system? You need to store a data in a relation manner. So how it is relational manner? You need to store it as a table. So every table is a relation. That is what is a relational database management system. Okay, so how it is related? Let me explain with the. So basically, DBMS I explained. Now you see the customer ID. This London is related to this ID. This London is not related to him. So every table is a relation. Every column is specific to this particular person. It is not specific to this guy or this guy. So this entire row is called a relation. They are building a relation. So this entire table is called your relation. Okay. Not satisfied, I think.
Okay,
I'll
fine.
Google it.
Good.
No. I'm saying there are other ways of managing DBMS, object-oriented, hierarchical, relational. So they consider everything as object, hierarchical, all those things. Now, relational management system is nothing but purely you need to store the data in a table. That becomes your relational database management system. That's what the definition of it. And every table is a relation as the thumb rule. Okay. Now, let me explain some more thing about services. So back to this guy. So this guy just sits as a service. You see services dot msc. You see here, this is the guy. SQL Server is nothing but your DBMS, database management system, that will run as a service. This is running. Okay. Now he is the one. I mean, we are running now. When I stop it, just see. You run this query. It will throw error. It should throw. Just keep on running because it doesn't find the instance. Earlier, see, the connection is broken and recovery is not possible. Okay. So basically, this is the server and the service, okay, which is enabling you to run the management DBMS. So this is the service. If there is some issues like this, just go and check the services. Connection is broken, recovery is not possible, something like that. Okay. Let us start that. So it is already running. Now when I go and run something, instead of that, I'll select this statement that will run immediately. Now it's working. Okay, and your management studio also will run as a service. I think. Wait a minute. Microsoft SQL. Not sure. Okay, that is not as a service. So this is your service, and management studio, as I said, you can go and check it here. SQL Server. It is management studio. This is your client tool. That is what you want to understand. Using this only, you told about Toad. Toad is a client tool to connect to your Oracle. So it's not a database. Toad, I think if I'm not wrong, Varun, can you tell me Oracle you use Toad or some other client?
Toad, I don't have much idea. I heard about it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Toad
So
I
Deepak
used
told, yeah, Toad is a client tool to connect. I think it's otherwise it's like IDE, integrated development environment kind of thing. So you can connect to server clients, all of this thing. So it's a client tools, okay? It's a client basically. So management studio is your client and your SQL server sits down on underneath, okay? So this is the things you need to know about. Then what? System databases. Okay, now see, when I say like connected this RDBMS database management system, when I right click on it, okay, create new database, it has created me a SQL training database with all the schema, tables, views, synonyms, all these things, how it creates. Basically, this system database, if you expand it, this internally create a model database, master database, MSDB, TempDB, all those system databases to process. Basically, this model will have all the content to be created. When I just create a name, so this will create a one copy. This is taken as a copy, then this database is created. So already they have defined how it should create all the metadata over here. Okay, so just a copy and paste and renaming it to whatever name we provide. That is what your model database. And this master information, by default, all the data should be stored, metadata. If you see like what is my system configuration, all other stuffs, okay, this should be stored in some key database that is called your master database. and I'm not pretty much sure about it. But TempDB, whatever processing you are doing, say for example, it requires say select 70 plus 80. Okay, I typed something wrong. 70 plus 80 is 150. Very easy answer. So I'm running this. So 150 is your answer. So this requires some computation, some memory power to calculate. So those calculations will reside in your TempDB. So basically, as a software, it doesn't do anything on its own. All the things is doing using some kind of system databases. Okay, so these are the main purposes. We will don't look much into it. Okay, if you look into much into it, you will get confused. We are never going to use that one. Just to for your understanding how they will create all those things, questions will arise. For that, I'm telling you. Forget about all these things. You just focus on your data and the history. There is disadvantages for using a file system. That is why we came to database. And in database, it is not just a database. We have a database management system underneath that will use it to create databases, and it is called relational database management system, and your data is stored in a table. So this is the flow you should remember. Okay. I think today I can stop. So these are the things I covered today. Tomorrow I touched these things, data types, all those things. We will look deep into what is your data types, DDL, DML commands, when to use this one, create all other stuffs. Okay.